Shalom, shalom. Good morning. This is my favorite refrain for Psalm 150. Kol haneshama tehalel ya, hallelujah. Let all souls praise Adonai, hallelujah. It goes like this. Kol haneshama tehalel ya, hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehalel ya, hallelujah. Maybe one more time. Kol haneshama tehalel ya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehalel ya, hallelujah. Good morning.
Thank you, Cantor. I just wanted to briefly introduce the other two people in the Zoom room. I'm Teresa Drews, and this is Melissa Honigman, and we are the co-chairs of the Cantorial Welcoming Committee. We've been challenged with providing a warm welcome to our new Cantor, David Perper, during a time we can't actually be in the same room with him. I want to thank all of you who came to the car parade and food drive last week, and those of you who've enjoyed Shabbat and Havdalah with Cantor. So today we're going to interview Cantor via Zoom, and we're looking forward to getting to know him better. So again, good morning. Thank you for sharing the song with us. I guess we'll kick it off by saying, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Teresa. I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm the youngest of 3 sons. My family still lives in Silver Spring, Maryland. I attended Montgomery Community College. I finished my undergrad at Catholic University. I did not have a bar mitzvah, but I was confirmed because that was the thread that my family followed. I had cousins that were b'nai mitzvah, but myself and my 2 brothers, it wasn't in the story for us. That was okay. I read Torah when I got to Cantorial school, and it was exciting, and that's a whole nother story. But I started singing very early. I started singing in synagogue choirs as soon as I got to college, and church jobs to pay the rent. And then one day my aunt said, why don't you become a cantor? You're Jewish, you're singing a high holiday choir, and the thought never occurred to me. It never occurred to me. So Aunt Marion, if you're out there, baby, love you, thank you for that. And I called Hebrew Union College in New York City, and they said, well, before you schlep up here, why don't you talk to one of our graduates who works near where you live? And I called Cantor Michael Manovich at Washington Hebrew, which is probably 2,500 families, 2,800 families, just huge. And he said, well, I asked him because I innocently asked him, by the way, do you have a professional quartet and do you need a tenor? It can't hurt, a little salesmanship. And it was one of those things where in life it happens to be that, it just so happens that my tenor is leaving to go teach voice. And I think he might have said Wisconsin, actually. And why don't you come back tomorrow, sing for us? So one thing led to another, and he gave me opportunities on the Bima. And then some people watching might remember that Cantor Perper's first student pulpit was where? Port Washington Road, Temple Sinai, 9293. So it's like a full circle. Wisconsin, Temple Sinai was the first congregation that I was ever really in front of, serving officially. And to be back here at this part of my career is so wonderful. And I can't tell you how Faith and I, how warmly welcomed we've been. That was a tough little phrase to say, but it's been incredible. Shalom has been everything in such a short time. So that's a little bit.
Okay, thank you. I'll go next. So you mentioned Faith, your wife, and we're so happy that she is with us in Milwaukee as well. And she is also a cantor. Can you tell us a little bit about what you like to do together, if you sing very often together publicly, and how that relationship is with having you both be cantors?
It's amazing. It's wonderful. And Faith teaches at Hebrew Union College now, just virtually online, coaching students. So we don't sing all that often, as much as you would think, at home, right? We're preparing for Zoom recordings for Shalom. We're doing that. And once in a while, people will call and we'll have to, go online and do a little bit of singing in here and there. So it's happening. It's happening. But one of the comments that I love the most when people have received what Faith and I offer in whatever place we do, when we have a chance to sing together, is the feeling that they get when they see me looking at her when she's singing. I get emotional thinking about it, because she's so good and she's so meaning and she's so giving. And I'm so proud. And she looks at me the same way. And people tell us, oh, it's so beautiful how you look at each other and you have that sense of, and, we hope that comes across in services too. But to be married to another cantor is great. And she's not just a cantor. She's a master in every way. She's been a teacher. She's been making cantors for a very long time. And the bar is very high. And that's why we study every week. That's why we're able to share in certain ways what we can do together, because we both push each other, and we have a great voice teacher who pushes us too.
Wonderful. I'm going to go back a little bit more. Melissa and I both have children who are growing up in Shalom. And actually, Melissa, you grew up in Shalom too. My husband did. I believe Melissa's husband did too, perhaps. So I'm thinking back to, what's your earliest Jewish memory, like moment, like something that really struck you from your childhood?
So who knows? At some point, my mother may see this. And so first I say to her, and I say to my grandmother Rita, who are the two women that raised me, Rita, may she rest in peace. It's okay, I love you, Grandma, don't worry. When my Aunt Lona was in town, we would light candles because it was so important to her. That was her way. She couldn't imagine starting Shabbos, starting Friday night, and not doing that. And it struck me something. It never really came out as a question to my mother, but I think a flame was lit by her. And the idea as an artist and a singer, even at a young age, you get that sense of when you're giving people that gift and you see the reception of it and how lucky you are to be able to give people something like that. So I think those two things lit the pilot light, and it just kept going, because there's nothing like sharing with the people and knowing that they're getting something and they feel something and they're being lifted. I would always tell the choir, who cares if we just get the Hebrew right? Who cares if we get the music? I would always hold the music up to the choir and say, look at this writing here. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything. It's just what somebody has to put down on paper so that we can achieve something that they had in mind. But no, we want to lift the building off the foundation on Rosh Hashanah morning. When we hear the shofar, we want the building to be quaking and lifting off its foundations, which is very difficult in the Zoom world, but we're all struggling and trying to find our way.
Thank you. So going towards what you enjoy singing the most, both your favorite prayer or maybe your favorite moment throughout the year in a service or on your own, and then on the flip side, what secular music do you enjoy singing the most?
Ooh, secular music. I grew up influenced mainly by I focused my musical desire early mainly on 50s, 60s, 70s. I'm X number of years old, and that is the music that just gets me going. Yes, Shema Kolenu. Okay, for everybody out there, I get it. Yes, Cantors moved by Shema Kolenu, or a Shalom Rav, a contemporary Shalom Rav. But the Beatles were really onto something. And it's very difficult to describe. But anyway, secular music, Beatles, Elton John, Billy Joel, James Taylor, and the list goes on and on and on. Teresa and I were talking, and I was describing a kind of brand of concert that myself and Faith and our colleagues would put on once or twice a year, called Coffee House Cantors. And we sit in a semicircle on bar stools, and people are at their tables with food and drink, and we rehearse a little bit, and then we let everybody in, and we sing everything, ranging from, you know, if it's Coffee House Hanukkah, we're lighting the Chanukiot together with everybody lighting theirs. We sing through the rest of the brachot. We go through a list of Hanukkah songs, then we'll break into Beatles or something else. And while Jewish music is the seed of what moves us, is the kernel of the flame, there's so much other stuff that we love to sing. And we don't get the opportunity very often. So we take advantage of that and do whatever we want to do. And it's a ball. I've sung music theater. I started doing that in high school. I never did it professionally. I've sung regional opera, mainly on the eastern half of the United States. And to be able to, I'll finish this way, because we have a great teacher who continues to lead us down the path of vocal production development, I'm able to sing things that I would have only dreamed about being able to sing. And now that those things are coming to fruition, that my voice and my body at my age is ready to do this, it is so fulfilling, it's hard to put into words. And I wish everybody had in their life a Yoda who knows how to bring the best out in them and take them to the next chapter. I wish that for everyone, because that kind of ongoing, lifelong fulfillment is moving.
How about, tell us a little bit about, do you have a favorite Jewish holiday?
Gosh, you know.
Or is there one you'd like to
so.
talk about? I'm guessing you love all of them, right? Is there one you have a specific?
First, maybe
Yeah.
this answer goes out to a Mr. Steve Wallace in one direction, and maybe out to Rabbi Noah in another. First, apologies to Rabbi Noah for what I'm about to say, because the high holidays are amongst us. And to Steve Wallace, I say, you're welcome. But I put, if you count, in some ways, if you count the hours of preparation and rehearsal and execution of, Purim is a massive undertaking. No matter what size congregation you're at, if you give it your all, it's insane, the amount of time. When do I start thinking? I mean, I've written many, many Purim spiels. They're not great, but they offered the people laughs and inspiration and all those things. But it starts like right after Simchat Torah. And then I have my notes app on my phone. And once or twice a week, some spark will go off and I'll be like, oh. And even if that's 2 lines of lyrics that will eventually end up in the Purim spiel, yeah, well, you know, because of the Purim spiel, I'm sort of music director, choreographer, all those things all at the same time, which is great because I love to wear a different kippot. Everybody's noticing, what's Cantor going to wear today? So Purim is high on the list, but Kol Nidre has it all. Kol Nidre has it all. And if it's Kol Nidre Shabbat, that's interesting too. There are times of lifting in a major key kind of way on Yom Kippur. There's a lot of that. But the depths that the cantor has to go to from Hineni on Erev Rosh Hashanah in front of the entire community saying, I'm not sure if I'm the right one for this job to lead my community. I need your help. I need the help of my mothers and fathers to get through this moment. Am I worthy of Hineni? And then going all the way to Shema Kolenu, Yom Kippur evening, and the depths that you have to drill that don't often, and have to be roto-rooted,
Great. So one question that I get asked a lot as a musician, and I find interesting when I ask others, is what was maybe your most special musical performance or most unusual place you may have performed or situation?
Well, first of all, Melissa, why it took you this long to say I'm a musician is...
Oh, sorry.
It's not good. That's not good.
See, we are all musicians here, though, too.
Right,
I
right.
just defend all of us.
Teresa, I knew, but okay. I wish that I had prepared for this question, because I don't want to give this out too early in the Shalom relationship, but photos do exist of me in performance in an opera called The Coronation of Poppaea. Teresa, any experience with that?
Of course, we went to music school, Melissa too. I think it's like music history 101. We probably had to analyze it.
So I knew of it. I didn't know it, and I auditioned for the company, and I auditioned as originally just submitting my tenor arias, right? Because and my voice teacher was going to participate in this vocal program. So he was in on the casting behind the scenes, and he knew I was going to get into the program. So what was best suited for me? So there are photos and footage out there of me performing as the aged nurse to Princess Poppaea. There's footage out there and photos of me in a big wild hat, and I want to say this appropriately, lots of upper enhancement in a blue sequins dress that a 65-year-old woman would wear. And I get to poison myself and die on stage in an over-the-top way. So this will never, ever leave me. This always is with me. Arnalta, right? Arnalta. It was incredible. It was so much fun. And we did it on stage with an audience on stage. So the audience was like 10 feet away from us. It was old instruments, period instruments. Yeah, it was great. One of the best. One of the best. Was that a two-part question? Did I get to both parts? I'm not sure.
I think so. I think you got to it. Yeah.
Good.
Well, special. What about?
Melissa, what do you play? You play an instrument?
I play the cello and the piano. I don't play the piano like Teresa does, but I started with piano and then changed my focus to cello.
Sorry, I didn't want to change directions here.
That's okay. And I can tell you more after this interview. I don't need to share it with everybody. And how about, I know that you mentioned you played for someone special at one point, maybe I saw it on your list, if there was a performance where you performed.
Oh, you mean that person?
What's that?
You mean that person of a different faith?
Yes. Can you tell us about that?
Oh my Lord. When I transferred to Catholic University in DC at the Rome School of Music, it was, I think, 86, 87, something like that. The second day of choir, the director of the School of Music walks into the choir room of 150 students, and she says, I want everybody to make sure that your passports are current, because in a month and a half, the entire orchestra and chorus, hundreds of people, are going to Rome to sing for the Pope, for an audience with the Pope. And to make a few dollars, I was working in the music school office. So I was responsible for, once we got to the Rome airport, for moving around the crates that had the timpani drums that we couldn't find in Italy. Are you kidding me? The Catholic University of America is the only one in the United States directly run by the Vatican. Don't you think they could have found, okay, it's much worse. We're driving the truck with the timpani in the back of the truck through these Rome streets. It was amazing. If you're good, you'll remind me when I'm done to ask me about the restaurant owner if I forget that story. So we drive to the Vatican, we drive in, we get to St. Peter's, we get the drums out of the crates, we're rolling them into the Vatican, we get to the elevator. And you know, most elevators in the United States, they open 2 body widths, right? The doors, right? You can easily get in and out, right? The Vatican elevator doors open about 20 inches. So no drum gets in it. You can't get the drum in the elevator. And the stairs are very short. So it takes an hour to go up, you know. So anyway, we're going up the steps, we're going up the steps, we're going up the steps. We get to the top of the steps, we turn the corner, I get a tap on my shoulder. And I turn around. And John Paul II is 15 feet behind me, because we're late, because we couldn't get in the elevators. White like you wouldn't believe. His dress, white, his white, oh, so beautiful. And you could feel this man's energy. You don't have to share his faith to see. First of all, you know where you are. And the energy around this person. And it was incredible. It was incredible. And then we went to dinner a night after that. I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. That's where I was still living at the time. And we go to this little restaurant, and the man comes in and is very, very gracious and giving all this beautiful food. Oh, so good. The fish. Oh. And he says, where are you from? And we said, Washington, D. I said, Silver Spring, Maryland. He goes, oh, really? And then the world goes, rrr. My brother has a restaurant in Silver Spring called such and such and such. I don't remember the name of the restaurant. I was so excited at the geographic connection. I never got the name of the restaurant. I never ended up going either. But yeah, it was a great journey. Great. Singing for the Pope. Yeah.
Wow. So we have a question that I can't believe I didn't ask it already, because honestly, it was the first one I was drawn to from our list. What makes your Jewish heart the happiest? Like, just the happiest?
I think there might have been a question of, well, Cantor, isn't it something freilich? Because that's the question, right? What prayer, you know, some would say kol nidre, I get to do it 3 times, but the depth and feeling and importance of that moment is the deepest gravity well that we have in our tradition, the weight, you know, because if you're going to see your people, it's going to be that night. If you're going to see them, that's when they're going to come. But so many people have always needed. Right now, some of them are tied to heal us now. That moves a lot of people. I think I understand from someone that's important for the choir on the High Holy Days. Heal us now. But when people hear, and you know the depth of what people need, especially now as this thing goes on and on and on, for all the reasons that all of us are seeing on television all the time, everywhere. I think that I can offer something that I know they're all really need, and they just are, they can't get enough of that. So that's, and I have a lot of rhythm too. So if I can get a groove going too, that also is good. And I might add, for unclarity as to when the cantor is finished answering a question, I might add that it's harder on Zoom, but we're all doing everything we can. Everybody at Shalom is doing everything we can to bring as much goodness and spirit as we can to everyone.
And just to expand on that, this is such a difficult time to come into a new congregation. It's a difficult time for everybody to feel connected. Is there anything that we can do to help you in this virtually time to connect even better?
I just want everybody to know that that question is not a setup for what I'm about to drop on the congregation. And thank you for that question. It came up this week in a staff meeting. The idea of when you're with us, whoever you are, Shalom members, friends who are visiting us, where are they visiting us? It's all virtually, right? That wherever you are when you're with us, in your mind, in your heart, and in your spirit, that has to be the sanctuary wherever you physically are. And this is something that I think people, what's the next word I should use? Could be more intentional about that. No, not just because, like we are now, I can see you, right? You can see me, but in the sanctuary, you got to sit in the back row if you wanted to. And you don't have to do anything, literally nothing. Just sit there and receive whatever you feel like receiving. But on Zoom, every single person is in the front row. Every single person is right here. And thank you for saying that I thought about it. When my wife sees this, she'll go, "Oh, you use that space in the basement the first time for a Zoom. Every other time you've seen us, we've been in that room over there, Perper Snyder Cantorial Studios." I think it's important that people be intentional about the physical space they're in, and to know that, and to plan ahead. If you know whatever it is, when you walk into temple, you check to see, do I have everything I need? Yes, I know it's Rosh Hashanah morning. I'll probably have to go and then come back. Okay, I get it. When we're in person, the services are long, right? But to bring yourself into sanctuary is what we need to do in the Zoom world. We need to put something special down on the table, put something visual in front of us to remind us, put on that which reminds us that this is important, what we're talking about. I don't have to have a tie to put that message on across, but to be thoughtful about how it feels to be when the sacred time is at hand. And even if Cantor's being lighthearted, even if Rabbi's telling a joke, whatever it is, there's a sacred, important message that we're trying to get across. And to know that, to remember that when you're in the sanctuary, when you're in sanctuary, you're there in receptive mode, not in distracted mode. And the larger screen you can watch us on, the better. Because that could be more immersive. If you have a big screen television at home, and we're going to be zooming a long time, I think. If you have the means, get a large screen television, because it's just better. It'll remind you, it'll make your sanctuary bigger, whatever you have to do. It doesn't have to be spending money. I take that back. Sorry, Rabbi. It doesn't have to be that. It just has to be something that you know, right? Thank you.
That really means a lot. I think a lot of us, unrelated to Congregation Shalom, but are having Zoom fatigue. There have been articles written about it, and every meeting kind of feels the same. And I know sometimes that I can easily get my work meetings mixed up because everyone's background is the same, but I really take to heart what you said about making that a special experience, and that the sanctuary is not the building. I mean, it truly isn't. And I want to thank you for those words. We're just going to wrap up with one more question, a little bit of a higher note, but what are you most looking forward to as you start your career at Shalom? I mean, you've been in the Cantor position here for a couple of weeks, but is there something that you're really looking forward to starting up? And don't say getting off Zoom. Something bigger. Just if you could share with us, because we are so grateful that you are here. It was a long journey for us too, for your arrival to come to Milwaukee, and we're just so grateful that you're here, and we want to know what you're looking forward to with starting with Shalom.
Thank you. That's a nice question to end with. I find myself saying these strange things like, if there's a positive thing to the pandemic, if there's something that you can take away, some things that you could possibly take away that gave us something, we know that we've been at home like never before in your family's history, going back, who knows, decades at least, right? And there's been so much that has been gained from that extended closeness that we didn't know about before. And if you add the layer of homeschooling on top of that, I know it's making everybody insane. And I can't imagine, I don't have children, I can't imagine what it's been like for the last few months. And so we're all finding ourselves in the same shock, but now I'm in a new community. I'm in a new home. Everything is new and different. And we have this massive layer of rock on the top called COVID. And I thought about the things that I can offer, the things that Faith and I can offer, which you've seen. If you're following, then you know that there are events that we're planning so that we can start sharing more and singing more for you and giving, because everybody needs so much. But when I thought about how it's going to be when the day comes, and this is a very emotional thing for me as a cantor, and for you too as musicians, and for all of us, when that day comes, when we can have the temple orchestra, the temple band right there, and the sanctuary jam-packed to the gills outside, the side sanctuary extension for the high holy days open, packed to the gills, because everybody finally, this is what I'm looking forward to. Because I know the building is going to barely stay together when we make that moment happen. And all I can do now is, along with faith and hope and a great clergy team and a wonderful community to give what we can in this way, however we can, in whatever way, whatever needs we can fulfill, and to start planning for that day, because it's coming. It's not soon. We know that because we're paying attention. It's not soon, but it's coming. And we know that it's coming. And we will all get together and we will lift the roof and sing. And so what I'm looking forward to now is that journey there, starting today, starting tomorrow on Zoom, whatever it is, to give what we can and to lift people as much as we can and to do the work of leading our faith community.
I love that the goal is to all be together, but I love that the journey is, as we know, is so important and sometimes even more important. So thank you so much for saying that. We look forward to seeing more of the congregation at some of the events. We look forward to hearing you and your wife, Cantor Faith, singing in your virtual concert. And we just want to thank you for taking this time with us today. Are you going to end with a song? Excellent. I'll mute so I can sing along.
Thank you, Cantor.
Shalom Rab al Yisrael Amcha ta'asim le'olam. Shalom Rab al Yisrael Amcha. Shalom Rab Shalom. Shalom Rab al Yisrael Amcha. Amcha ta'asim le'olam. Shalom Rab al Yisrael Amcha. Shalom Rab Shalom. Thank you so much. Lots of peace and safety.